that. Did I catch it? Oh my gosh, I caught it. Hey everyone.
Welcome.
Hello. Welcome. I am so glad that intro thing, it kicked off during the community-led training that I did yesterday. And I felt so bad.
You know how to remove it.
No, but if you have a second to remove it, because I forgot.
No, I mean permanently from the settings.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't mind it when we're doing it for realsies, but not when it's not for realsies. All right, so we are here to talk last module number 7, system administration. But before we do, we got some exciting news. Rodney wasn't here last week, and you were doing a thing.
I was not.
What thing was? What was that thing you did?
I went over to Europe because I couldn't be normal, and I took the exam we've been studying for. A little early, granted, we weren't even fully done with Section 5 yet, but still. And based
as we're
on
going to
what
see
we're
on the
showing,
I was going to say, and based on the next slide, that hurt that we didn't finish 6 or 7 with you.
Yep. I'm going to do something to actually show you guys the email I got that breaks down my score. And again, I did pretty well on all the other sections, especially on workflows and automation. Which, considering I was there to talk about workflows and automation, I hope I got 100 on that section. But the last 3 sections I wasn't able to complete with Alex here shows.
It shows.
And
so
this is why I tell you people, study.
And pay attention to what we're going to be talking about. Cool. Well, congrats, Rodney. You've obviously already crossed over the threshold, but some of us haven't fared as well, me included. But I do have news from my end. My test is scheduled for November 9th, I believe. It's the only time I can get a Saturday in my area. So,
do I need to get Lena to drag you to the testing site?
I will get myself there. Although I am going to a different testing center from last time. Because the place I wanted to go to, that I went to for the ACP-120, they weren't doing Saturdays for like the rest of the year. And I did have one, but it was like at 1 p.m. I'm like, I don't know that I want to go late in the day to take the test. I kind of want to do it in the morning when it's fresh. But we're doing it November 9th, 9 a.m. It's on. All right. So with that said, let's see how we can finish the rest of this module 7. We do have 2 more days planned for this, but if we can power through it today, then all the better. So we're going to learn how to configure global user interface features, configure attachments, issue links, app links, and time tracking globally, configure statuses, resolutions, priorities globally, and then create and import system backups. Ready to jump in? Let's go. All right.
Can we go?
Let's talk about configuring global user interface features. So in this lesson, we're going to look at modifying the general configurations in Jira. So this includes branding options, user default settings, and default dashboards. So we have some branding options. So you should be aware of the options that for your branding in Jira instance, including how to modify the look and feel, namely the navigation, colors, favicon, and logo. You should know the customization options around languages and time formats. I'll say that time formats is important, very important. And I will say that the navigation colors is important. Do you change your navigation color?
Yes, absolutely. I change the look and feel entirely usually when I'm managing a professional instance because it makes it feel more a part of the company rather than just a tool.
Yeah. For a team, I usually go put the logo for their company in there, right? And then for the navigation of the sandbox, I make it as bright, bold red as I can. So then I put a banner. Then I put a banner that says this is a sandbox. Because if you're not careful and you're just depending on like 8 characters to tell you that you're in the sandbox, which is production, you're gonna get yourself into some serious doo-doo.
Yes, definitely sandbox. Alex just uses red. I use orange just because it tends to get a lot more attention. It could be just that little bit brighter. But still, make it very different from your home instance.
Yeah, don't make that mistake. You don't want to have your sandbox in production be exactly the same. Okay. Also, some teams usually change the banner and the navigation and the colors to kind of match their their company colors and branding. And then the favicon is a little icon up here. So you can actually change this tiny little icon that nobody will see to like your company logo if you have one as well.
Something I've done just in my professional practice is befriend the marketing people, because they usually have someone who's an expert artist, a graphic designer, and then ask for something custom specific for your Jira instance.
I brought water and I left it really far away. Pointless. All right. Default user preferences. So there are, of course, other areas you can customize and you'll subsequent. Oh, sorry. One last thing on the time formats. Make sure you pick. There's like 5 different time formats to get this correctly. So you're gonna have to tweak them all to get the one, to find the right one for the right part of Jira that you're very interested in. But the biggest,
as much as I can say, it does come up.
Yeah, the biggest thing that comes up is usually, I think the default is like UTC, and nobody works off of UTC. At least I don't.
Some people in England.
Well, yeah, but when UTC is you, then of course.
Time
And then
zones.
there's a difference.
Figure
I think
them
you
out.
can also, and I think you can change between like a 24-hour military time versus the regular 12-hour clock as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the hardest part is that time conversion, right? Because your interaction with Jira, especially when sometimes it comes down to like arguments of like, oh, who updated this ticket and the order of operations, like that timestamp is very critical. So having a time zone that everybody's agreed upon is critical to have, because otherwise you're doing some nasty math conversions for time.
I mean, it converts people's times to whatever their local time zone is in their user settings. This is just what is the default shown.
Good point. All right. Now, some more default user preferences. So these are, of course, other areas that you can customize, and you'll subsequently have to troubleshoot configurations should problems arise. One area is the default user preferences or user default setting administration. As a Jira admin, you can set the default values for the following settings. Number 1, email format. The outgoing email from Jira can be either sent as an HTML or text format. Issues per page. This is where... Are you kidding me?
Yes, they are not kidding you.
This is an Alex Discovers.
All right, so Bob, I'm marking this down. This is 7 minutes into the stream.
You're telling me that 50 is like... I've complained because 50 is how many issues? Where is it at? Oh, look, you can turn off product recommendations. You can turn off all that marketing stuff that Atlassian tells you. That's good.
I gotta send a note to King Bob.
You could, yeah, because this, like, people, I've had teams that are like, hey, Alex, let me just turn this stuff off because we don't care for it. Uh-oh. Let me get back to my Jira. Wait, I still haven't figured out where it is that I update the limit. Time zone. Advanced settings.
So go back to the study guide real quick.
User
issues per page. Now go back to the configuration. Type period.
User
issues per page.
Wow. 1,000.
If you're stuck, and this is for the people out there, if you're stuck trying to find a setting and you're just not finding it, the dot search is your friend.
But I thought that's going away.
I mean, they're still keeping the general search. I think Double G also does the same thing.
Huh? Command K or Control K?
I mean, it's still use the search functionality built in to find these settings.
This is beautiful though, because only being able to see 50 at a time is a pain in the butt. Default access. Choose the default access setting for when you create new filters. This is interesting too. So by default, whenever you create a filter, it's private. And so it looks like you can just set it so that it's public, which may or may not be a good thing.
Don't do it. Keep it private.
I would say now it doesn't matter as much because now Jira admins can see private filters and edit private filters. That didn't used to be the case.
The problem and the concern I have is I had a company previously that wanted to move their instance onto the public internet, but had their default be public share access for filters and dashboards. And they didn't want that. And we had to derail the project for like 2 weeks while we figured out how to make all the old filters and stuff that were made public into private and prevent people from making new public filters.
Well, there you go. Now you know this. I notify user if their own changes. This is interesting. So does this override the personal setting that you have? Because you can.
No, this is for basically defaults for a new account. People can override this with their own personal settings.
But in general, you can basically push this setting to always notify user of their own changes and auto watch their own issues. So this is I wouldn't mess with these two. I don't know about this default access.
That one I wouldn't mess with either. That one though, issues per page. Yes.
Yes.
The email format, if you really love ugly emails, change it to text.
Right. And then, so remember, these defaults can be overwritten by each user in their personal settings. The default dashboard, this is something that if you are data center or coming over from data center, like the default dashboard was very popular then when I remember when I used it. But in the cloud, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently the default dashboard still exists. It's called the system dashboard. And this is the first dashboard that users will see when they navigate to the dashboard section. Since it's fair to assume that users will have different project access, you should know which gadgets are available and which makes sense to place on the system dashboard. Different users will see different results based on assignments, access, issues, security. So keep in mind, I don't use system
dashboard. If you are customizing your default dashboard, that's the best practice. Use those customizing JQL filters. Use the current user. Use the different things that automatically select, like on dates and such, so
right,
that
like
everybody gets a personalized. Yeah, everyone gets a personalized experience that way.
Yeah, but again, and since I've been in the cloud since 2020, it's 2024 years. I've never used the default system dashboard, but when I was on premise, we definitely use it a lot. Kind of weird that it's. I'm curious if anybody else uses it. All right. You want to ensure that whenever users create new filters and dashboards, they're visible to everyone in the Jira instance. Which configuration achieves this? All right. So create a new filter and a new dashboard and share. So not this one. Ensure that default dashboards show all new filters in the filter. Not this one. Modify the user default settings and change default sharing. Maybe this one. Grant. I think it's C. What do you think?
C is what I'd go with.
Boom. Next, we're done with section 7.1. On to attachments. See, I told you these things might go fast. Let's talk about attachments. So, attachments sometimes play a vital part in the context of information that is provided in issues. So you must be aware that allow attachment settings is always set to on, which means that attachments are always enabled by default and cannot be disabled in Jira Cloud. A maximum attachment size can be set. We've explored this in the Jira duty. Thumbnails can be automatically created for attachments for better viewing experience. You can decide whether users can download all the attachments of an issue as a single zip file, and create attachment permissions are needed within each project. All right, these are just facts. Issue linking. So Jira users can link issues together to keep track of duplicate or related work. To allow issue linking, a Jira admin must enable this globally, and this can be found in the Jira Administrator menu under Issues. After issue linking is enabled, new link types can be created. Be sure that you understand how the naming of inward and outward links are displayed for Jira users. Users must have the link issues permission, and some apps will add link types, and you can remove them. But these are global, right? So everybody sees them.
What's your opinion of using issue links to show dependency?
Oh boy. So if you're using the jar, you have to use the blocks and blocks by. But the problem I have is searching for them outside of the jar becomes very, very challenging unless you have something like ScriptRunner. Right. So I'm not a big fan. I prefer to flag, but then the flagging breaks the jar because it doesn't work the same. So I would say it's a combination. This is what I do. I link epics because those are usually dependencies across big ticket items like an epic or an initiative. It's usually a very visual thing you want to do, right? And this is the dependency management is usually a very inter team. Which one's the ones where team to team? Whatever the intra. Inter. It's very inter team, right? Where this team has work that's needed by this team, and that's usually managed more closely at the epic level. So I'm a big fan of using issue links there. But when you're at the story level or at the subtask level, and you're within the team and you have the bounds of a sprint to get your affairs in order anyways, I'd rather just flag the issue then because you're on the hook to get it fixed within that time box anyways.
And the only reason I ask this is not because to test people, because one of your hats as Jira admin is a business analyst, and you will be asked questions like this.
The linking that I could care less for, though, is the parent and child one. That doesn't do what you think it does. If you're using like a parent-child link as a link, that is the incorrect way to do it. You should be doing a parent-child at the issue key level area.
Also, pet peeve, if you're using the duplicated by issue link, and one of them is not closed, you're using it wrong.
That's another thing. So this inward outward, you're basically saying like this is blocked by, and then you have like this blocks, and so there's a relationship, and one of them's gonna have an inward relationship, the other one's gonna have the outward one. So when you create a new one, you can have a link called blocks. Well, actually, let me just show it to you. Right. So when you create your link over here, where are you at? Link. I passed it. There it is. When you create your links here, you will create something called blocks. Or let's do cloners because this is better, right? You will call the relationship cloners, but the users will see clones and is cloned by. They won't see cloners. So sometimes the names don't always match up. Okay. Application and instance syncing. So this is something that I don't use a whole lot anymore, but in my on-premise days, I used to use it a lot. The application navigator is located in the upper left-hand corner of Jira. It is possible to add links here to other Atlassian products such as Confluence or JSM. This allows users to quickly navigate to other Atlassian tools. It is also possible to link separate Atlassian cloud instances to those products. This access is under products in the Jira settings menu. Once the links are created, users can link Jira issues between instances. Oh. This assumes that issue linking is globally enabled in both instances and users have the correct link. This is good to know. I did not know this part. I did not know you can go.
This is really, I mean, Jira to Confluence, we all know the benefits of linking those two instances together. If you're linking two Jira instances together, this is the only real benefit you get.
Yeah,
because the Confluence across that.
Yeah, the Confluence part is not. It's more tightly connected now, right?
Yeah.
Like you go into a Jira project, you have a. Oops, let me go into a software one. Although it should work here too. But if you go into a Jira software project, you have your project pages section, which is a softer, better link to Confluence. You don't have to go do a global setting. That's the way I link to Confluence today. But yeah, being able to do Jira to Jira, that's powerful, especially when you're an enterprise and you have two different Jiras that do have dependencies.
I mean, back in the day, we'd have multiple server or data center instances. That's what we do. I've seen this set up between a company that has both a on-premise server data center instance and a cloud instance. That requires a little more configuring. There's some stuff about that on the 520 exam, and also the old system exam before that was retired. But so that's a little beyond the purview of this, but it is possible to link across the firewall.
Yep. All right, time tracking. So time tracking lets your team record the time they spend working on issues. It's enabled by default in Jira, and you won't lose any existing data if you disable or enable it again. You should be familiar with the following. Know the settings of working hours per day and days per week. It is best practice to communicate the number of hours in a workday and week so that when users enter time using a D or W, day or week, it aligns. That way they understand to be a workday. This is especially true for organizations that have resources in multiple countries. For example, if a workday is set to 6.5 hours in time tracking, users enter one day. As an estimate, they might expect this to translate to 8 hours. So basically, you can define inside of Jira how long your work days are, because there's a what they call pretty time, and that pretty time will determine if you put in an 8. If you put in like a 1D, it'll default to 8 hours. But if you change this and you put a 1D, it might not be 8. It's assumed to be 8, but you can change it.
I mean, isn't Scrum kind of the assumed that people aren't really working actively on a project more than 6 hours a day? 2 hours is wasted on overhead.
Yeah, but I think the premise of like 8-hour workday still prevails. You try going home 6 hours into your day and see what your boss tells you.
Oh, I wasn't. It's not saying that I went home 6 hours in my day. I'm saying I spent 2 hours answering your BS emails.
All right, familiar unless you have a task to deal with the emails. Familiarize yourself with the different time display formats. So there's a couple of formats. I'm gonna go to this one, and so you have pretty, which I hate. I absolutely hate this one because if you put in like 80 hours, it's gonna say like 2 weeks, right? I prefer
2 weeks puts it up for interpretation. I prefer to just keep it pure hours too.
Yeah, I prefer pure hours, and I don't like days either because I'm like over there sitting like, what is 7 days? Like 5 days is easy, 8 days is easy, anything in between, or 1 day is easy, 5 days is easy, 8 days is easy, but everything else you're like, how many hours is this? Right? Because now you're dividing by 8 a lot. So I just prefer to keep it in hours. That's my method.
Again, not on the exam, just best practices.
Yeah. Note that you can set the default unit time tracking. This one's pretty critical because the default I think is like minute. And if you do that, when a user goes in and puts in like an 8 and just hits enter, you just registered 8 minutes instead of what you were intending, 8 hours. And that's a very, very, very big difference. So keep that in mind that I like to set the default to hour, even though that's not the out of the box setting.
Oh, you don't set your default to months? It's not even an option.
It's not even an option. Can you imagine you spend 8 hours and you put it to 8 weeks? That's a big problem. When enabled, comments added when transitioning an issue will be copied to the work description. User time log entries will only be visible to members of the project role or group selected. Disabling this option will make user time log entries visible to anyone by default. Okay, I didn't know that, but cool. And as with attachments, issue linking, users need certain project level permissions to put time in. So here's a scenario. The global time tracking configuration is in your instance below. Lynn has been assigned to an issue with an original time estimate of 24 hours. Lynn logs work by entering the value of 18 and adding the remark that she fixed most of the issue. Let's see how this information is displayed. So how is the original time estimate displayed? Original estimate is displayed as 4D since a working day is 6 hours and the pretty format was selected. What is displayed as the remaining? So the remaining is displayed as 1 day. Lynn logged 18 in the time spent, which Jira translates to 18 hours. So you basically divide 18 by 6.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you'll get the 3 days. So this is basically what you're getting. Again, this is why, folks, just keep it in hours and you're going to save yourself so much math and so many conversions. Oh, the last question said, what will Lynn's remarks be displayed in the comments? So copying of comments to work description. Yes, since copying of the of the comments to work descriptions enabled. Lynn's remarks that she fixed most of the issue will appear in the comments field. All right, question. Users are complaining about date started value when logging time. In time tracking settings, the working days per week configured is currently set to 7. It is now exactly March 2nd, 2021 at 12 p.m. Users expect to see a date started time value of 3/1/2021 12 p.m., but instead appears as shown. This is probably why you failed this part. This is a freaking hard question. All right, what the heck? Okay, so it is exactly March 2nd, 2021. But the date start is supposed to be March 1st, 2021. But instead they're seeing March 2nd. What's the problem? Why would you expect to be in the past when you're in the present?
I mean, I'm sure Alex is going to have problems with this one, but my first guess would be time zones.
All right. Well, there's no time zone setting, though, that you do here. So what action corrects this? So change the working days and time tracking setting to 5. We don't have that information, though. Oh, wait. Yeah, so working days is currently set to 7. So that means, okay, so I don't know that would solve it. Change time display format and setting to hours. I don't think that would solve it either. Change the default unit and time tracking setting to hours. Change the working. I think it's going to be D, and then grant issues permission to effect. I don't think this is a problem. I think it's D. Because it's because of that 12, right? They're very explicit in that 12.
Yeah.
Hey, it's right. Brian
We
is no
got
longer...
a question in chat before we move on. Should an aspiring project manager, or as an aspiring project manager, should I take the cert or just aspire to take the 620?
I would do the 620 is more important than the 120 in that case.
This one is specific for administering Jira. If you're a PM, but you're also the one running Jira,
then I would
absolutely take this and the other one. If you're just a project manager, take the 620.
Yep. If you're not peeking under Jira's covers, avoid 120. But if you have to peek and figure out how Jira works, this is the one you want to also take. Granted, this is going to be a little bit harder because it's a lot more technical. All right. Brian is no longer able to link bugs to stories in the dev project. Determine 2 possible reasons for this change. So, issue linking. This one for sure. Brian no longer has the link issues permission. But we don't have enough information to really answer this question at all.
Well, I mean, we're looking at 2 possible reasons. So we need to rule out anything that is impossible.
So the edit has nothing to do with it, so we can cross that one out.
Yep.
The link types were renamed. I don't know that we have enough information.
That wouldn't impact him being able to link something.
Right. That just means that the link type would be different. I'm leaning towards C, that issue linking was deactivated, but we don't have information to know if he could link anything else.
I mean, we don't, but it is possible.
And I don't think that maybe the link type was deactivated, but it doesn't explicitly say that he was trying to link like a bug with the blocks by. Right? So this just said that he just can't link it. So I'm going to go.
I don't think we can deactivate a single link type, though.
But you can remove it.
You can remove it, but that's not what it's saying. It's saying deactivate it.
I'm still going to go with C and E as my answers.
That's what I would go with as well.
And we got it right. Yay. All right. We're making great time. We're halfway through this, and we're halfway through the course here. We might not need Friday.
I think we should have a Friday for just practice questions.
As a Jira admin, you need to be able to manage fields in Jira, both system and custom fields. This lesson covers 3 of the built-in system fields: status, resolution, and priority. The available values are modifiable by Jira admins, but do with caution. but with due caution. And the reason is these are global changes, folks. You're making a change here, you're making a change for everybody. Although I'm curious to see if the priority scheme is now in this test or not. Because probably not. And judging by that last question of 2021, this test is probably a few years old.
Or at least the study guide is.
Yeah, at least the study guide is. So statuses in company managed projects. So statuses represent the position of the issue within a workflow. For company managed projects, these are global to Jira, which means they're available to be used throughout Jira, which is why you should never rename a status. But of course, not all statuses are used in every project. A default set of statuses ships with Jira. This includes statuses like open, closed, in progress, etc. Some statuses are created automatically when projects are created from templates. So here are the default workflow statuses for the 3. Scrum, to do, in progress, and done. Kanban. I like how they accept this here, but they still leave the bug in Jira.
I mean, they don't make Jira for the exams. They make exams.
Look at this. This is wrong. Notice how their Kanban workflow does not match their Kanban workflow here. Atlassian, please fix it. Although I did tell you why they have it like this, right? And for the team managed projects that are Kanban, it ships with to do, in progress, and done. It's the company one that screws you over. And then bug tracking has to do, in progress, in review, and done. I've never used the bug tracking one. Adding a status. So statuses can be added via any of the following locations. Status page in Jira Admin. So here's where you see the name and category of the status, as well as all the workflows it's used with. And that one's kind of cool. So you can go in the gear, to your gear over here on the left-hand side, and there's a statuses button. And from in here, you have the ability to add a status, and you can also delete statuses if available.
Don't delete statuses.
Well, you can delete statuses that are not associated to anything. Like if you have 2 canceled statuses, because somebody doesn't know how to spell cancel with double L's.
I mean, that happens.
Yeah. You can also add statuses from the workflow editor. So when you're in the workflow editor, which we covered in the workflow section, then you can click the add status, and that will create a global status. And then if you're in a team managed project or using the simplified workflow in company, you can click like add a column, and that will add a status as well. As a best practice, though, Jira Admin should start simple and add statuses only when they are really needed, and I usually only add them in the workflow view. Status categories. What was that?
That's what I typically do as well.
Yeah. Status categories. All statuses are associated with the status category. The options are to do, in progress, and done. I wish there was a way to add more colors, but this is what we get, folks. Each status category has a color associated to it that will appear in the status lozenge. I didn't even know that was a word. So to do. This is the status.
Never took a cough drop?
No.
They call those lozenges.
Really?
Yeah.
This status category of to do is great, and it could include like basically any work that's not moving. So your to-dos, your opens, your news, your backlogs selected for development. In progress is blue, and it includes anything that's like work in motion, right? So you're in progresses, in development, and review, and in QA. And then you're done is green, and that's when work has come to its final resting place. So you're done, you're closed, you're deployed, you're delivered, stuff like that.
Now, I'm going to make an important. Go ahead and finish up, actually. I'm going to make another point after this.
Okay. It's possible to search for status, search using status category. For example, you can find all the issues that are like in the category of to do.
So you're going to eventually get someone asking you in your Jira practice, can I change the color of a status to something custom?
Basically, not
like red for blocked. Yeah, not blue or gray array, like red for blocked or something like that. The answer is no. The long answer is no.
But the new answer is maybe?
Eventually. It used to be a thing. In like Jira 4, it was a thing. In Jira 5, they removed it.
I could have sworn that at Team 24 Europe, they had on-screen different colored statuses because the Techno 4 people, because you can change the color of your status using an app.
Yeah, you can use an app to do it, but you're testing on Jira out of the box.
Oh boy. Techno4 has an app that allows you to change colors. Where are you at?
Hiding. Also not sponsored by Techno4, but love those guys.
Yeah, they have sponsored me in the past. Wow, they have a lot of apps here. Oh wait, why? You know what? Let's just status color. Where's their app at? Why aren't they at the top? Did they change their name?
Not as of last week. I was in there uploading videos next to their booth.
That's weird. I would have expected their app to be on here. I shouldn't go 3 pages down. Maybe we should talk to them about this. Anyways, there's apps. There's apps that allow you to change the colors. All right, renaming a status. So it is possible to rename a status, though, through the status page or via workflow. Note that changing the name affects all occurrences of the status. So changing it from to do to Toto will change the status in all the workflows. And I think people don't usually understand the impact of this, and this basically means all, everywhere. So don't ever rename a status unless you're absolutely certain that nobody else is using that status. After changing the status name, you will need to update all the filters that use that status, including board filters. Also remember that the name change will be reflected in reports and dashboard gadgets. Automation rules will also need to be updated. If the status name is part of a trigger, the rule will not run anymore. If the status name is part of an action, then the rule will run as expected, but will show that the status name is not present. If the status name is part of a JQL condition, it will run but not perform any actions because the JQL didn't bring anything back. And if the status name is part of an issue field condition, then the rule will run as expected, but will show the status name is not present. The new status name should be included in the condition. So basically, don't rename your statuses.
So this is why Alex will fire you.
Yeah. Deleting a status. Deleting a status is only possible if there are no associated workflows. So you have to go through some hoops to get this to happen. There may be JQL queries that reference that status. So once the status is deleted, those queries are going to return an error. You know what would be really cool if Atlassian fixed this would be if your JQL is invalid for some reason because somebody renamed the status or deleted a status, it shouldn't bring back nothing. It should bring back something, no? Like it should bring back the rest of the query. But
maybe it depends on how it's set up.
Your queries break. Your queries break. If a field is missing, if a status is missing, it just returns nothing. So again, if you delete a status, as with the status renaming, like rules and everything, filters, everything's got to be updated. Statuses in a team managed project, though, as a reminder, statuses in team managed projects are project specific and are not impacted by global change by global statuses today. Details of this are covered in team managed workflows lesson. So here's a scenario. You change the name of in work to working. The status is only used by the Acme company Kanban project. Flip the cards to see some examples of what else might need to be updated. The board filter. Ah, dang it. It broke again, Rodney.
It broke hard.
It broke real hard here. The hell. Here we go. The Acme board filter needs to be renamed because it's referencing a status that doesn't exist. The board columns may need to be renamed because, and this is a may, because the column name doesn't always have to match with the statuses below. So you can leave it whatever you want.
You can make it bathtub. I've had a column named bathtub.
Yeah. You will need to change the name of the status in any JQL statements used in the swim lanes, card colors, or quick filters. The JQL you will need to check any filters used by gadgets on the Acme dashboard to ensure that the new status name is used. Acme dashboard gadgets, you will need to change the name of gadgets if they included the old status name. Not pictured here, and probably the most critical, is that any users filters that were referencing that status now need to be updated, which is the hardest.
That's going to be a headache.
And suppose you have a rule that was transitioning on that in work. Well, now you got to update it because now you got to go reference the new status. All right, resolutions. So resolutions provide the reason an issue is being closed. Ideally, 3 resolutions would be used, done, won't do, and duplicate, even though you can do whatever you want. Like statuses, resolutions are global in Jira and are not project specific. Jira admins can add, rename, and delete resolutions in Jira Administration. The use of resolutions in workflows is covered in another lesson. So you can add new resolutions. It's very, very easy. The order of that resolutions are displayed in the dropdown, usually in the workflow transition screen, can be modified on that page as well. A default resolution can be set. So you go over here to resolutions, and you can basically move these up and down. There's little arrows, and then you can select one to be the default, which means that when you move an issue to when you go look at the dropdown for resolution, it'll have like that pre-resolution predefined for you. This is not the same thing as doing a post function. All right, it's important to maintain a limited list of resolutions that can be used across projects and are not tied to issue types. Having too many similar resolutions will confuse your users and generate bad data. Like, and especially I've seen like won't do, like won't fix, the same crap, people. Just it's a won't.
But some people don't like the language. Some companies don't like the language of won't do. They're worried about their reputation if something's listed as won't do, if the data eventually gets leaked.
If and when, right? If additional resolutions are created, the workflow properties of Jira Field Resolution include or Jira Field Resolution exclude can be used to determine which values are available during a transition. For example, bugs and stories could have different resolutions available. Renaming a resolution. Resolutions can be renamed. If done resolution is renamed, the new name will be used only in the resolution in team managed projects. If the done resolution is renamed, the new name will be used as the only resolution in team managed projects. I don't get that. If the done resolution is renamed, the new name will be used as the only. Okay, because so you can't set resolution in team managed projects. So if you rename done, I guess whatever you rename this to is what the team managed projects are going to present, because they only have one resolution.
Yeah.
Impacted JQL and automation rules must be updated when the resolutions are renamed. So basically, folks, don't rename crap in Jira. Don't delete crap in Jira unless you absolutely have to. So when deleting a resolution, another resolution value must be selected that will be associated with the issues that currently have the resolution that is being deleted. So again, your JQL and automation filters need to be updated if you ever delete a resolution. And then resolution screen. So resolutions are set via workflows and should not be included in any issue screen. The value will appear on the view screen after it's set.
I will disagree with this wholeheartedly.
Yeah, don't you put the resolution on a screen to do the transition?
Yeah, I use a transition screen to set the resolution. I don't set it on an issue screen, but I absolutely do not hard set it via workflow. I want users to tell a story of why are you closing this issue?
Yeah. And also, like, I guess what they're trying to say with this, though, is like, don't put it on your create screen because you don't want to resolve as you just created something.
Yeah, no, absolutely do not. Do not put it on your edit screen. You might put it on your view screen, but no.
All right. Priorities. In Jira Cloud, all projects share a single set of priorities, including team and company managed projects. Therefore, extra care should be taken. Now, since the writing of this course, priorities work differently in the cloud.
Yeah.
You now have priority schemes. But these still apply. You still have the ability to add priorities. So you can come into your Jira over here. There's a priority section here. And so all of this still applies because you can just click add priority and add a priority. The pain in the butt is the icon and the color. You need to have the icon somewhere, and you need to have the color kind of in mind. Okay, those are the two annoying parts. Renaming a priority, right? So again, if you rename a priority, you're gonna have the same problems, right? Your JQL and your automation rules. So basically, again, don't rename anything, folks. Don't delete, because when you delete it, another value is gonna have to take its place, and then you're gonna have to update all your JQL and all your automation rules for reference. And the worst part is you can't guarantee, right? Like, depending on the size of your company, that can be a lot of changes in a lot of different places. So,
and they're all probably going to have your name on it.
yep. Now we covered subtasks in a prior lesson, but let's examine disabling subtasks. So for company managed projects, subtasks are enabled by default. Note that you can't disable subtasks if one or more subtasks have already been created on your Jira applications. You must convert these subtasks to standard before. So does this mean you disable it globally? You can disable subtasks globally?
You can.
Oh, look at that. You can disable them here.
But if you have any subtask in the instance, not just your project, but the instance, it will fail.
But this is pretty drastic, right? Like you do have the option of in your issue type screen, just don't include the subtasks so your teams don't have subtasks.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very drastic, like you are very adamant that subtasks will never be used.
Subtask are the devil.
I mean, Atlassian makes them be the devil. All right. A team frequently uses a filter to show issues from both team and company managed projects. The filter query is shown as project is in one of these, and the resolution equals done, and the status equals done. Stories from the team managed project unexpectedly dropped out of the filter. Identify a possible root cause. The done status was renamed through the status page. No, because the status page is for company managed projects. The done resolution was renamed in the team managed project. I don't think so, because this right here is done for company as well, right? And then it impacts the team. So I don't think it's B. The done resolution is no longer being set by the team managed project. This, I believe, more. The stories
I
from
thought that was done automatically.
the done resolution is no longer being set in the the done status was renamed in a team managed workflow.
That's not where you rename
maybe
statuses.
I think it's going to be D then. D's the one that I would vote for.
D is where I'd lean towards too.
And that's where we're at. All right, we got current issues. Toto and done. Do you ever call it Toto?
Sometimes, yeah.
I like Toto.
You gotta have fun with this stuff, guys, or you're going to have a boring life.
Yeah. Then we got backlog, in progress, and completed. This is it. We're not told anything else other than current issues are in this status. The new issues are in this status. You have a Jira instance that has the following configurations: one workflow, one project. Sounds like the starts of a lyrics.
You got one workflow, one project. 2
statuses, one issue type. It reminds me of Remember the Name by Fort Minor. I don't know if you've seen this song.
I have.
It's we have 10%. Oh shoot, I can't log in. 10% luck, 20% skill, 15%. I feel like you got one workflow, one project, 2 statuses, one issue type.
So I did all the math to add that up because I went to engineering school and they'd play that before the basketball team came out every game. And as the band, we'd have to be there early. But we're also in engineering school, so we did the math. I think it came out to like 110%.
I know, right? It is, right? Because it's 10%, 20%, that's 30, 15%, that's
45.
Then 50%, that's 95.
It does come out to 100.
Yeah, that's up to 100, but then you throw in 100%, another 100%.
So,
all right, your project team needs to show different selectable statuses for a new issue within the same project. The new issue needs to be a child of a current issue. There should be no changes to the statuses available in the current issues. The statuses this is way too many. There's too much information, and I got Lincoln Park stuck or Fort Minor stuck in my head. The statuses available in the current issues versus statuses needed in a new issue are shown in the table above. What 3 configurations are need to be added to enable this? What the heck? We have current issues are to do and done. Then we have backlog, in progress, and completed. You have a Jira instance that has the following configurations: one workflow, with one project, 2 statuses in that workflow, and 1 issue type that has the 1 issue type is in that project with 2 statuses inside of that one workflow. So your project team needs to
that
show
one issue type.
Yeah, so your project team needs to show different selectable statuses for a new issue within the same project. Okay. So basically, we need a new workflow. And we need a new issue type because the new issue needs to be a child of the current issue. And we only have 1 issue type. So we need a new issue type. So
what 3 configurations need to be added to this? So subtask
we need a
type.
subtask issue type. We need a new workflow.
Correct.
And we're probably going to need new statuses as well for that new workflow. Boom. Hardest question I've seen so far. All right. What do you think, Ronnie? We got 9 minutes left. Backups. Should we just read through it?
Let's do this.
All right.
Let's go through it.
Because I do have a hard stop in 9 minutes. All right. Backups help you restore and recover your data. You can store it locally or import it into a different Jira cloud site. You can export the following data to back up your Jira cloud site. So issues for both company and team managed projects, your configurations, schemes, and custom fields, your archive projects, your users, your group settings, your issue attachments, your user avatars, and your project logos. When you create a backup, Jira overwrites any previous backup file on this page. Backup files are automatically deleted after 14 days. You can back up your Jira data at any time. However, you include attachments and avatars, you will need to allow 48 hours between backups. This is a problem. So how do you actually create a backup? Well, it's not very good. And I know, Rodney, you're not going to be happy with this, but just use Revise to back up your data. Because this is horrible.
They paid us, so
the fact that
them.
Yeah, the fact that this is the only way to back up Jira for free sucks. So you're going to want to do something like Revise or use something like Revise to back it up. But backing it up is easy, right? Like you literally go to the system over here and then you go to backups, but backup manager, and then you just take a backup depending on whether you want to backup for cloud or backup for server, and then you check this checkbox.
And
if you want to
that bottom option, if we read, is going away.
Oh yeah, and this is going away in a month. Oh wow. And so backups become a stale thing though, and especially when you can only do a backup every 2 days.
Not only can you do a backup every 2 days, this is an entirely manual process.
Completely manual. So look at the banner down below and look at better options that are available for you.
You can select the channel, but they also do the product works.
Yep. And it's not limited to just every 48 hours. But yeah, once you have the backup, and it does take a while to do the backup, you can download that file. So I like to do this kind of backup when I'm going to do like a migration of some sort, because I'm essentially locking in a snapshot, and that's it. Because that's all this really is. This isn't really a backup; it's a snapshot. This is more Revise is more of a real, what I would call a traditional backup. So now restoring. So you can easily restore a cloud backup, but be aware that the import process overwrites existing data, which is a problem, which is, again, why you want to use something like Revise, because it allows you to cherry pick what you do or don't need. This is an all or nothing. So if something happened in those 48 hours that you can do backups from, everything in that 48 hours is lost. It is completely pointless to do a backup at that point. So splitting your cloud backup file. This also impacts existing issues and attachments and look and feel of configuration. Atlassian recommends splitting your backup file into 2 separate files: a data file containing your active objects XML, and then entities, and then a separate one for your attachments and other media. And then importing your user data. You can use. Does Revise do users? How do I talk to them?
I don't remember.
I think it's just data. So you can choose, but your users don't even live inside of Jira anyway, so this is less relevant too. But you can choose what to do with your imported user data. It can be merged with existing cloud users, which may escalate the permissions of users when they're imported. So be sure. Basically, I wouldn't even do this though, because then you just end up with a very messy user list. Importing issues. In some cases, you may need to import issues from another source. For that, there's an external system import user that can be used. Data can be imported from a CSV or JSON file or from Trello. Jira provides a wizard that walks Jira admins through the steps. This is true, and it's still there. But it's getting better, but they made it worse. Permissions. Backups and imports can only be performed by users that have the administrative permission. Jira admins can create backup files. Org admins can also create backup files, but they can also import backup files. And there's a check your knowledge. You import an existing Jira Cloud backup. What consequences do you expect? All of the above.
Yep.
All right. And we are 5 minutes, two questions. So let's do this. Your Jira Cloud site uses company managed projects exclusively without further configuration changes. And then 3 backup and restore options that are available for your Jira Cloud site. So create a site backup to use in Jira Cloud and Jira Server for now. Restore only a single project. I don't think so. Restore only a single. I don't think so. Import media. F. I think this A, B, and F. I'm gonna go with that. Hey, because you don't have that option on this one.
Yeah, you can't. And more importantly, and we want to emphasize this, you cannot do a single project restore from either a server version or Jira Cloud backup.
Unless you have, again, Revise, which will let you do, well, at least Cloud. I don't know.
We're talking out of the box. I mean, we all know you should be using Revise anyways. Stu, you owe us.
Yeah. You wish to copy all your Jira projects and issues from Acme Corp to a new instance. What combination of steps achieve this? So Acme Corp so the source is Acme and the destinations team. So Acme creates team as an external. No. Acme Corp create the B is correct. This is wrong because we're not using server. And this is wrong because we're not doing the import. So it's going to be B. Boom. All right. And folks, we reached the end. We're ready to take the test. All right, Ronnie. We finished. So Friday, we'll maybe get together for a few minutes. And
I may harvest all the old Are You Smarter Than questions.
Yep. All right, folks. Thank you very much. And we'll see you on Friday for the last final part. You're ready to take the ACP-120 at this point, though. Go.
We have had one person take the ACP-120 after following along with our course, other than me, and they too passed.
Cool. So we're ready.
So you're ready, guys. If you are studying along with us, go forth.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.